Welcome to Kiss the Reviews. I'm Armando. That's Corey. And today we're doing 2022's Satanic Hispanics. If you want to follow me or Corey on Twitter, you could follow me at Junior D's. You could follow Corey at Corey_Idol. And as always, if you want to follow the show, you could follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kiss the Reviews. And let's get into the cast of 2022's Satanic Hispanics. This film stars Efren Ramirez as the Traveler, Greg Grunberg as Detective Arden, and Sonya Eddy as Detective Gibbons. I'm going to start by saying this. I love Efren Ramirez just as an actor. And I always find it funny when actors go from a role like he did, because the first time I'd ever seen him was in Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
Going from a role like Pedro in Napoleon Dynamite to a role like this, I absolutely, because, and he's changed his look. He's a grown man now. So obviously his look has changed a little bit, grew out his hair. But this was just a really cool role for him, and obviously a departure from some other things that he's done in the past.
Yeah, I feel like, because I'm with you. I think he is very underrated.
Yes.
As a performer, and I really wish he was able to shake off it sounds weird to call it like, oh no, it's I feel bad for him because the character Pedro probably bought this dude's house and paid for a lot of college. So just that idea alone, it seems weird to want to rebel against, but you almost feel bad for these actors that have such an iconic role or such a memorable role that they can't shake it no matter what they do. Like his role following Napoleon Dynamite, I think, was in Crank, playing like a transgender rat. It's really fucking, like, he was trying so hard to be anything other than Pedro. Yeah. And it just seems like that curtailed him. But I'm with you. This was a dope ass role for him, and I hope they continue this storyline along because they leave it wide open for this to continue.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this movie, I really enjoyed this movie. It's a good, again, we get into the, horror movies and campy or comedy or whatever that are mixed in. This is intertwined so well with humor. And again, this is another movie that does it right. So,
yep. They have a very sweet formula here of scary, comedy, scary in each of the stories they tell. Because this is set up, again, if you haven't seen it, this is set up like a Creep Show or Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Hood, where the Traveler is basically the narrator or introducing us to all of these different stories. And they're just, they're so good.
Yep. So if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers are ahead. Just as a warning. So we'll start out with the opening. So the movie opens with, police breaking into a house. They find it filled with dead bodies everywhere. They open fire multiple times onto a dude holding a gun, but he's got like the chain and his hand just keeps coming up. And they just, again, this is one of the funny pieces right off the rip. That's absolutely great. And like the chain is connected to the Traveler in the other room who's like trying to get out, and it just keeps lifting dude's hand, and they just keep laying waste to a dude that's already dead.
It's so fun. They can clearly see he's dead. Yeah. And the first time his arm raises, they shoot him. You're like, all right, cool. And then the second time you're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And then the third time you're like, oh, this story's set in LA.
Yeah.
Because this is very LAPD.
Yes. Well, and then they see the chain attached. They go into the next room, and the Traveler's in there, and he's the only person who's alive. He's handcuffed to the chain, and he tries to chop his hand off. Well, I say he tries to chop his hand off. He does a damn good job of chopping his hand off, or at least it looks like that. But in the very next scene, it's him in the police station getting interrogated by the two moronic detectives, and his hand just has a bandage on it and like a little blood spot, and like that's it.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is an important PSA for everyone.
Corey's life lessons.
Hi, skinny guys trying to escape handcuffs. Uncle Corey here. It's dope we've all made peace with the fact that we're not muscular in any way, shape, or form. But the reason everybody takes those supplements and destroys their brain and works out like they do and eats protein, brah, is so when they need to chop their fucking hand off to escape, they can do it in one cut. Us skinny guys, dude, he was going to be there all fucking night trying to cut through bone. It just ain't. We don't have the strength for that. Figure out another way, dude.
Yeah, he needs to get off the plant-based diet and just go go straight like whatever it is, deer testicles or whatever those guys eat, the Liver King and those guys.
Just whatever. Just listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. They'll tell you in like 5 seconds.
Or just take steroids.
So I ate a snake raw yesterday. It's fucking dope, and I feel jacked.
You were correct.
Funny little like side note on the detectives. There was the fat white dude detective. I got a phone call. Cat Williams told me that this was his role, but he passed on it and gave it to this guy. So
he told you the story about when the movie came out. Where did he say he watched it? At home. He wasn't even at the premiere.
The Illuminati got to him, and they removed the role. So, but anyway, we got to these detectives Arden and Gibbons, and they're interrogating the traveler. And he explains what happened in the safe house, and that if they don't let him go, they're all going to die.
Which I have to say, this is why I could never be a cop. Because if I arrest somebody and they're like, look, bro, you need to let me fucking go, or everyone here is going to die, I'll be like, cool. You're out. See ya, bro. Either that or I'm leaving. Fuck the rest of these dudes. I'm out. One way or another. It's not me.
We don't see it until later in the movie, but like if you go through his pockets, you know, you got to hand over your wallet and your phone and yada 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 when you get arrested. Don't know if anybody knew that, but you do. And you're going through their belongings, and there are, I don't know, a finger that's just cut off. You know, old rings, a vial of blood. Just let the guy go. Like, what are we doing here? I'm letting that guy go immediately.
Yeah, you're immediately playing with things you don't understand. Anybody that travels around with a fucking finger and a vial of blood has a pass. Because they are either, one, part of the Illuminati, or two, they're married to Billy Bob Thornton. Those are the only two reasons you have a vial of blood on you.
Hell yes.
He then gets into the story, which is chapter 2. Him knowing Gustavo in Argentina. And Gustavo is trying to show like the Uber Eats guy a spirit in his house. And he's doing like the safety dance with the phone. And he's like, did you see it? Did you see it? There's nothing there. Uber Eats guy bounces. And then he invites some dude from like a ghost hunting podcast to his house and does the same dance.
And I have to say, it was really cool. We talked about Pedro, or, you know, Efren Ramirez being able to shake off Pedro. And I think it's also cool that they did the same thing for the little boy in Bad Santa being the Uber Eats driver in this. They are just giving everybody a chance, and I am about it.
Hey, second chances are great, man. Second chances are fantastic. But we get the ghost hunting guy here, and when Gustavo does the little safety dance, he freaks out and just bounces. He just leaves and tells dude not to do it. Gustavo then sees a torso crawl from like under the table, and his hand gets all contorted and broken. Does the torso like chew on his hand? Like I didn't see and maybe I just missed it. I didn't see what happened to his hand. All I know is that when he pulls his hand up, like he looks like an offensive lineman in the NFL, like after they retire, and fingers are just pointing in all kinds of different directions.
Yeah, for a Rubik's Cube professional, he has some weak fucking fingers because he fell backwards in the chair, by the way, and that's what did it. Like, he tried to brace himself with the fall, and again, he's a skinnier guy. We got bird bones, man. Like, we go, like any kind of fall. I tried to dunk a basketball once and broke my left wrist because I flipped over backwards. It's just, we shouldn't do things.
No.
We should sit there and play video games like World of Warcraft.
And can I say, I love the storyline that Gustavo's like the Rubik's Cube master, and he's like, I think it's his sister that he's talking to, and she's like, you got to go to Japan and be in this Rubik's Cube tournament, and you can make like $8,000 or something. I'm like, $8,000? Isn't that like what the flight costs to get to Japan?
I was just, especially from Argentina, motherfucker. That's crazy. You can make $8,000. Do you know how math works, sis? Because that's not making anything.
You can make $8,000, but you just have to stay in Japan forever. Like, that's after this, the ghost hunter guy shows back up, immediately goes upstairs, tells Gustavo that he saw his dead mother after he did the little dance and waved his phone, and that he opened up this window into the world of the dead. This was kind of my favorite because I didn't know what to expect with this movie, right? And there is a little bit of humor leading up to this. You know, you got the detectives, you got, the Rubik's Cube of it all. There's a few things that are, humorous, but mostly serious. So I'm kind of just picturing this whole serious thing moving forward. And the ghost hunter guy goes in, and apparently the torso is his mom, and he's hugging the mom. And then Gustavo does the little dance again. And then the ghost guy and mommy turn into like goo and explode all over the kitchen.
Dude, that was crazy. I did not expect that at all. I do like, though, the air of mystery with him doing the dance, because he does look like he's having some weird fucking like stroke in this hallway. Like every time he goes in the hallway, he just starts losing his fucking mind, or his OCD kicks in.
Yep.
And then you see him with the Rubik's Cube, and you're like, what the a Rubik's Cube guy? Like, what? But then tying it together with him shining it in the lights, and that's how he developed the pattern and an algorithm and yada yada. I thought that was really cool and inventive.
Yeah. No,
and
absolutely.
If I'm correct, and you correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because you love to do it. If I am correct, though, I think this is the same guy that directed Terrified and When Evil Lurks.
You were correct.
I think this is it, and then the demon crawling under the table was a lot like Terrified with the demon under the bed.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was just very like seems to be his style.
Yeah, and there were a few directors attached to this, what I'm assuming, and again, we don't do research here, but I'm assuming each director had their own chapter in this film. And so there's him, and then the only other one that I recognized was Eduardo Sanchez, which was the director of the Blair Witch Project.
Correcto. Correcto.
I get something.
No,
right.
I said that means I'm correct. Two correcto.
I don't think you said that right either.
No, I fucking suck at Spanish.
It's all right. It's all right.
For whatever I do good in life, fucking languages, not there.
It's okay. Even if it was right, just the whiteness of it all, when it comes out of your mouth, it just sounds wrong. So,
yo soy tostada.
Yes, you are. So we then cut back to the detectives, and they find out that the traveler's dead. And they have mugshots dating back to the 70s. And then this is where he explains that he can't die. And then he shows them that his hand is already healed. And then we cut to chapter 3, and the traveler explains a series of unsolved murders in the area. And this is where the comedy comes in. This was one of my favorite pieces in the film.
And this might be one of my favorite pieces of all time. Like, as far as the short is concerned.
Yes.
This is just wall-to-wall fucking hysterical.
Yeah, it's literally...
I was dead watching this.
However long that, this chapter takes, 10, 15 minutes, whatever. It's fuckery for like 15 minutes, and I loved it. I was there for every second of it. So it cuts to Halloween. There's a vampire that kills this like bunch of partygoers, drains their blood, and El Vampiro like needs to get home before sunrise.
Because he forgot about daylight savings time.
Because Daly got daylight savings time wrong. And it's him and his like longtime love, and they're on the phone. And after this, like he gets eggs thrown at him by like some kids that are dressed up for Halloween. He murders them, and then we get the scene of him and the cops in the alley, and they think it's just like a gag, fake blood until they taste the blood. And then they start chasing him. He runs into the church, and he doesn't realize it's a church. And then he lights on fire, and then he leaves there, running from the cops again. And then his lady friend picks him up. And as they're driving, like they're trying to get away, they end up in a dumpster at dawn. And then they just die. They burn to death in the dumpster.
The vampire, first of all, trying to control the cops. But he has that head in his hand, so he only has one hand to control them, and there's two cops, so he has to keep switching back and forth. When he catches up to the clowns who egged him, he's out of breath. He's like getting ready to do his vampire shit. He's like, "Oh, give me a second." And then immediately, like the evil comes out again, and he's a scary vampire and just wreaking havoc everywhere.
Yeah.
Him stealing a guy's fucking Segway because he doesn't know how to drive. He's refused to learn how to drive for over 400 years. There is so many little parts in this that are unbelievably funny.
Yeah,
and they're just perfect.
Right before he steals the dude's little scooter, because he's talking to the chick on the phone, and she was like, "Well, you told me that you could turn into a bat." So there's like the little piece of him trying. He was like, "Yeah, I did it once before, and I haven't done it in a long time." And it's just him like running down the street, like flapping his cape, trying to turn into the bat.
It's so good.
All of the little pieces that they put in here were fantastic, and it was laugh out loud funny from beginning to end in this whole chapter.
It's fantastic. This is one of the funniest horror comedy things I've seen since like Tucker and Dale or Shaun of the Dead. Like this is up there with that. It is so
100%.
funny.
100%.
And it reminded me a lot of what is it? What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah. Yep.
It reminded me. It had a lot of that humor to it.
Yeah. Well, and after this, so after you get your laughs out, we cut to chapter 4, where the traveler explains how he came into the possession of the vial of blood that he has. And all we see is dude carrying a dead body on a horse. He's obviously scared. He gets to a house. He ditches the body while someone's in the bushes watching. He's working with the CIA, we find out, to give info on a cartel. And then he gets tracked down and taken prisoner by ritual forest cult people that, let's be honest, are in desperate need of a shower and a fucking dentist. And they performed this like ritual on him in the woods. Like, again, it's the dynamics of and I always bring up dynamics because I'm a huge fan. The up and down. So you got the comedy, and then like this really weird, fucked up, like culty, and then the skin peeling off during the whole thing, like during this the witch doctor lady doing her thing.
And again, this is a good example. This short is a really good example of practical effects in a horror movie.
Yeah,
because like they cut the dude's throat, but you can still see like his esophagus, and there was like vocal cords, and the whole ritual was fucking terrifying. I mean, look, if this was meant to perfect my xenophobia, it works. Because I ain't ever motherfucking going there, bro. Ever. I'm staying in my... No. I'm not even traveling outside of the fucking state anymore. I'm done. You'll be lucky to get my ass to Trader Joe's at this point. Fuck that.
Corey's not even drinking wine from other countries anymore. He's like...
No, I'm just drinking my own urine.
Isn't this wine fantastic? It's from Kentucky. So we then cut back here to the traveler who explains that Saint Death is coming for him. And the only thing that can stop him is a bullet that he has in his possession. But the gun was lost 80 years ago. And then we get like Detective Gibbons like running out of the room. We see the gun that they have at the police station. And then she comes back in and she shows the traveler a picture of the gun, not the gun itself, but the picture of the gun. And then the traveler tells the story about Malcolm, which is chapter 5. And again, this one is, they're all fantastic in their own right. But as far as humor, because obviously you and I, we've talked about humor in horror. When it's done right, it's perfect. And again, this chapter was perfect. So, we have Malcolm speaking to Amy about a trip that they took to Havana, and he recorded a ceremony that they saw, and he says that they're cursed now, and all of their friends have died in these weird ways since then, and he thinks that Amy is now possessed and will kill him because she wants the tape. Or the thing that possessed her wants the tape.
This is what makes this short, in my opinion, so good, is because all of this up till now is dead ass serious.
Yes.
Like, we need to meet, there's this curse, I invited you here for this reason. Right? Like, you asked me here, you asked me to this restaurant, I know you're this demon, I don't give a fuck anymore, we're about to battle. And you're like, okay, I get it. Again, kind of like Friday the 13th with the Sam Winchester of it all. This had the beginning of like an air of like a supernatural episode. Yeah. Like, we're going to fight the demons and da-da-da-da-da-da. And then the giant penis of it all falls down. And it's like, what the fuck just happened?
The funniest part about this is when he starts to talk about, so he starts blasting her with the arsenal of guns, and the fight begins between them two, and he finally hits her in the head with the hammer of Zanzibar. And by the way, as soon as he hits her and he's holding it, and it's the hammer of Zanzibar, and then we get that story of how he came into possession of the hammer of Zanzibar at this antique store, and the fantastic back and forth between Malcolm and El Jefe, played by Jacob Vargas, which I love. Jacob Vargas of it all. I always think of him, and he's been in a ton of stuff, but he is Selena's brother to me. I just remember him from the Selena movie with J-Lo. And he's always been Selena's brother, no matter what he's in. I see him and I'm like, hey, Selena's brother. But
that's how I feel about Isai Morales.
Well, what's there to say?
The back and forth and him describing the whole the sexing of it all to get the hammer of Zanzibar is the writing in here is brilliant.
Oh yeah, because again, he's telling a story about how he summoned a demon, and it starts off like, I summoned the demon, and he came to me, and he was hiding in the shadows. Yeah, and I saw his eyes glowing, and then the sweat glistening off his skin, and even I stopped and I'm like, what the fuck did he just say? The sweat glistening off his skin. And he just keeps describing how this demon just basically fucks him. And he's like, and so I summoned him over the next 19 days. So this guy's just getting pounded out by this demon. And then you have the reveal that this guy basically went nuts and knew his lover was a demon. So he chopped his dick off, Lorena Bobbitt style.
Yep.
And he reveals this massive, this is the end size demon cock. And the balls are the actual hammer part. It's so fucking silly and ridiculous, but it's so fun. And the guy's reaction to it, Malcolm's reaction to it, where it's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yep.
It's so like grounded. It's funny because that's exactly what your reaction should be when somebody says in order to kill a demon, you have to take this giant fucking demon dick that I caught off and use it as a hammer.
Hell yes.
We then cut back to the police station for chapter 6 when San de la Muerte shows up and he immediately controls everyone into killing the others and then themselves. And he makes his way to the Traveler. And just a couple of things. We always talk about, practical effects, makeup, and how cool the bad guy looks. This dude looked dope as hell. Just the cloak, the hat, the how his face was made up looked awesome. And
yeah, if they tried this hard to make Snoke in the fucking Star Wars Force Awakens series, you would have had a much better bad guy. Exactly. This guy looked dope-ish. He looked like fucking Snoke is like a Clint Eastwood character. This dude's walking around in fucking leather dusters and cowboy hats and shit. He looks awesome.
No, he looks fan-fucking-tastic. And the whole him controlling people and then them just, again, serious comedy, and then back to serious. And just them shooting all the people in the police station and then the cops shooting themselves. Him getting to the Traveler. The Traveler kicks open the door and because the detectives finally hand over the Saint Killer gun over to him. And the Traveler comes through, kills him, and then the movie wraps up with the Traveler getting away. And then he gets pulled over for speeding and tells the cop that if he doesn't get out of here in the next 90 minutes, you're all going to die. And that's where the movie ends.
Yeah, and this is my one critique of this finale is, was there a police convention in town? This station has the most police I have ever seen in my life. The Terminator went after Sarah Connor in an LAPD, downtown LAPD police station and fought like, I don't know, a fifth of the fucking cops that were in this station.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to explain it away, guy. I got it for you.
Okay.
That's right, LA, bro. Right? We're in LA for this.
Sure.
Did you see how many cops showed up for like the 8-foot aliens in Miami? I'm assuming their police station is smaller than the one that was there. So there's like 400 cops that showed up for that. Like, it's a saint of death. Like, he's coming and
Fair enough.
Cops. There you go.
Works for me. LA's not on the border, though. I think this was probably more closer to San Diego. We'll work on your geography. We'll get it. It's okay.
Whatever.
Don't ever explain things away to me again.
I don't. Okay, we're done.
All right, I'll be professional. But Cat Williams told me I don't have to take this shit anymore.
No, he did tell you that. I was in the room. So
you and Chris Jericho.
He also told me to shave my pointy sideburns, so I got rid of those too. No, dude, at the end of the day, man, I love this movie. For me, full disclosure, first time I saw it, And I always talk about like the journey dude, the journey it takes you on throughout this whole thing, the fact that it's serious and humorous, weaved in and out throughout this, I absolutely love. The practical effects, everything. I only have one question. Okay. When they're in the police station, right? The detectives dump the bag of shit that they took from him.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Where did you get this ring? What's this vial of blood?" There's a motherfucking finger on the table that they never ask about. I'm pretty sure it was either a finger or it was, I don't know, like an old pickle that had dried out. But there is something that resembles a goddamn finger on the table that's never questioned.
Yeah, foreplay isn't just for sex. You gotta ease into some shit. You don't just plow right in like, hey, what's this finger? You gotta slow roll them. Like, here's a ring, here's a vial of blood. You know, like after, like, here's a bracelet made of bone. That's weird. What's this? And then it's like, by the way, not for nothing, you know, you have a fucking petrified finger in here, right? You know what I mean? Like, you got to lead up to that shit. I loved this movie. First time seeing it, I didn't know it existed until late last week.
Yeah, same.
It's rentable on Amazon or Apple or Vudu, I think, are the three places you can get it. It's absolutely worth your time. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's different. Like we said at the beginning, you get some scary involved. You get some comedy involved. And both the scary and the comedy are equally great. Nothing is lacking in any of this. So if you like to be goofy, hang around. There's a story for you. If you like your, like, horror, serious, and demons, and it's there. Yeah. Any kind of story you want is here. And the fact that they leave it open made me so excited for what they're going to do with part 2. Yeah. And just continuing this story along. And I really hope they get a part 2 made because it deserves it. Yeah. Especially with seeing a lot of fresh faces in this. People I hadn't seen before. Yeah. Storylines I hadn't heard before, like the Rubik's Cube. Who the fuck thinks of a Rubik's Cube and stained glass windows matching an algorithm to open up a demon portal? What the fuck are you smoking, homeboy? I want that shit.
I was going to say, because Corey wants it.
That's that Argentina shit, yo.
Yeah. So, no, I'm right there with you. I loved every second of this. Front to back, it was almost 2 hours, I think, runtime. It was like hour 50, hour 54, something like that. But it, again, talk about clock watching when we watch movies sometimes. There was no clock watching for this. Like, I sat and it just takes you away. And by the way, if anybody's has a TV that you could connect to your not to do advertising, but these headphones with the B on them, it was really good to watch a movie with like noise canceling headphones on because it was like you were in the theater. It was awesome. It just added to everything.
Yeah, no, those headphones are great. I would definitely say that we won't forget about Dre as long as he doesn't forget about that check to pimp his shit. Other than that,
that's it.
Your headphones are lovely.
Exactly. But no, man, that's all I got. You got anything else for this one?
No, sir. Fantastic movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all I got. So for Corey, I'm Armando. This is Kiss the Reviews, and this was 2022's Satanic Hispanics.